Have you ever wondered how the things we use every day are made? Or why manufacturing is so important for our economy? Today, we are diving into the fascinating world of manufacturing industries, focusing on how they transform raw materials into valuable products and contribute to our lives and economy. Let's start with a basic introduction. Manufacturing is the process of producing goods in large quantities after processing raw materials into more valuable products. For example, paper is manufactured from wood, sugar from sugarcane, and aluminium from bauxite. Now, who is involved in this process? People employed in secondary activities are responsible for manufacturing primary materials into finished goods. Examples of workers in the secondary sector include those in steel factories, car, breweries, textile industries, and bakeries. A country's economic power is measured by the growth and advancement of its manufacturing industries. Moving on, let's discuss the importance of manufacturing. It is the backbone of development. Manufacturing is crucial for both general development and economic progress. It modernizes agriculture, which is the foundation of the economy. They also create jobs in the secondary and tertiary sectors. Furthermore, the manufacturing sector plays a significant role in eradicating unemployment. This was the primary reason for establishing public sector industries and joint sector ventures in India. Additionally, exporting goods expands trade and commerce, bringing in necessary foreign exchange. Now, let's classify industries. The first classification is based on the source of raw materials used. Agro-based industries include cotton, woolen, and textile, while mineral-based industries comprise steel, cement, and petrochemicals. Next, we classify industries based on ownership. Public sector industries are owned by government agencies like BAIL and SAIL. Private sector industries are owned by individuals such as Reliance, Tata, and Bajaj Auto. Joint sector industries are jointly run by the state and a group of individuals, like All India Limited. Lastly, we have the cooperative sector, where industries are owned by producers or suppliers of raw materials and workers, such as Amul and Lijjat Papad. We can also classify industries based on the bulk and weight of raw materials and finished goods. Heavy industries, like iron and steel, contrast with light industries that use light raw materials, producing light goods, such as electrical industries. Another way to classify industries is according to their main role. Basic or key industries supply raw materials to manufacture other goods, like iron and steel or copper smelting. Consumer industries produce goods for direct use by consumers, such as sugar, toothpaste, paper, and sewing machines. Industries can also be classified based on capital investment. A small-scale industry is described based on the maximum investment allowed on its assets, currently standing at Rs 1 crore. If the investment exceeds this amount, it is classified as a large-scale industry. Now, let's look at agro-based industries, starting with the textile industry. The textile industry is self-reliant, encompassing the complete value chain from raw materials to high-value products, including fiber production, spinning, weaving, knitting, dyeing and finishing, and garment manufacture. Focusing on cotton textiles, they were made in ancient India using hand spinning and handloom weaving techniques. Power looms became popular after the 18th century, and the industry initially developed in the cotton-growing regions of Maharashtra and Gujarat. The growth of this industry also supports other sectors like chemicals and dyes, packaging materials, and engineering works. Spinning is still concentrated in Maharashtra, Gujarat, and Tamil Nadu. The handspun khadi industry, involving weaving as a cottage industry, provides significant home employment opportunities for weavers. The first successful textile mill was established in Mumbai in 1854. Now, Let's discuss jute textiles. India is the largest producer of raw jute and jute goods and the second largest exporter of jute after Bangladesh. Most of the jute mills are located in West Bengal, along the banks of the Hooghly River. Kolkata, being a large urban center, provides banking, insurance, and port facilities for the export of jute goods. The first jute mill was set up near Kolkata in 1855 at Rishra. Next, we have the sugar industry. India is the second largest producer of sugar in the world, but it holds the first position in the production of gur and khandasari. The raw material used in this industry is bulky, and its sucrose content reduces during transportation. The sugar mills are located in Uttar Pradesh, Bihar, Maharashtra, Karnataka, Tamil Nadu, Andhra Pradesh, Gujarat, Punjab, Haryana, and Madhya Pradesh. 60% of the mills are in Uttar Pradesh and Bihar. The seasonal nature of the industry makes it suitable for the cooperative sector. In recent years, there has been a shift and concentration of mills in the southern and western states, particularly in Maharashtra. This is because the cane produced in these states has a higher sucrose content, and the cooler climate allows for a longer crushing season. The cooperatives are more successful in these states. Now, let's switch gears to mineral-based industries, beginning with the iron and steel industry. The steel industry is considered to be the backbone of other industries as they rely on it for machinery. Steel is necessary for the production of various engineering goods, construction materials, defense equipment, and medical devices. The production and consumption of steel are often seen as indicators of a country's development. Iron and steel are classified as a heavy industry because both the raw materials, iron ore, coking coal, limestone, and finished products are heavy. The raw materials are needed at a ratio of approximately 4:1, with manganese also required to harden the steel. The Chotanagpur Plateau region is the most suitable location for iron and steel industries due to its advantages such as low-cost iron ore and high-grade raw materials. Next, we have aluminium smelting, which is the second most important metallurgical industry in India. It is known for its lightweight, resistance to corrosion, heat conductivity, malleability, and strength. It has gained popularity as a substitute for steel, copper, zinc, and lead in various industries. Plants are located in Odisha, West Bengal, Kerala, Uttar Pradesh, etc. It is commonly used in the manufacturing of aircraft, utensils, and wires. Bauxite, a bulky dark reddish-colored rock, is the raw material used in the smelting process. The availability of regular electricity supply and affordable raw materials are key factors for plant location. Now we'll look at the chemical industries. The chemical industry in India is experiencing rapid growth and diversification. It consists of both large and small-scale manufacturing units. Significant growth has been observed in both the inorganic and organic sectors. Inorganic chemicals such as sulfuric acid, nitric acid, soda ash, and caustic soda are widely produced and used in various industries. These industries are spread across the country. Organic chemicals are used in the manufacturing of synthetic fibers, plastics, dyes, and drugs. The chemical industry is a major consumer of its own products. Basic chemicals are processed to produce other chemicals that are used in industrial applications, agriculture, or directly for consumer markets. Next, we have the fertilizer industry, which focuses on producing nitrogenous fertilizers, ammonium phosphate, DAP, and complex fertilizers. Nitrogenous fertilizers, particularly urea, are the main products of the industry. Complex fertilizers contain a combination of nitrogen, N, phosphate, P, and potash, K. Potash, or potassium, is entirely imported in India. The industry expanded to various parts of the country after the Green Revolution. Gujarat, Tamil Nadu, Uttar Pradesh, Punjab, and Kerala contribute to half of the fertilizer production in India. Now let's discuss the cement industry. Cement is necessary for various construction activities, including building houses, factories, bridges, roads, airports, dams, and commercial establishments. The cement industry requires large and heavy raw materials such as limestone, silica, and gypsum. It also relies on coal and electric power, as well as rail transportation. Plants have been strategically located in Gujarat, India, to have convenient access to the Gulf countries' market. Moving forward, we have the automobile industry. Automobiles in India are used for quick transportation of goods and passengers. Various types of vehicles, such as trucks, buses, cars, motorcycles, scooters, three-wheelers, and utility vehicles, are manufactured in India. The automobile industry is mainly located around major cities like Delhi, Gurugram, Mumbai, Pune, and Chennai. The automobile industry experienced healthy growth, producing passenger cars, two-wheelers, and three-wheelers. Economic liberalization introduced modern vehicle models, boosting vehicle demand in the market. Next is the information technology and electronics industry, with major industry concentration found in Bangalore, Noida, Mumbai, Chennai, Hyderabad, and Pune. This industry produces a wide range of products, such as transistor sets, televisions, telephones, cellular telecom, telephone exchanges, radars, and computers. One of the significant impacts of this industry is the generation of employment opportunities. Growth in both the hardware and software sectors is crucial to the success of India's IT industry. While industries play a vital role in India's economic growth, they also contribute to significant environmental pollution, affecting land, water, air, and noise. They are responsible for four types of pollution: air pollution, water pollution, thermal pollution, and noise pollution. To tackle industrial pollution and environmental degradation, several measures can be taken. First, we can reduce freshwater pollution by minimizing water use, reusing and recycling water in multiple stages, and implementing rainwater harvesting. Effluent treatment is also essential to treat hot water and effluents before releasing them into water bodies. Another way to control environmental degradation is through industrial effluent treatment. This includes primary treatment, which involves mechanical processes such as screening, grinding, flocculation, and sedimentation. Secondary treatment includes biological processes to further clean the water, while tertiary treatment involves advanced biological, chemical, and physical processes for recycling wastewater. Groundwater management is crucial as well. Regulating withdrawal can legally control excessive groundwater extraction to protect resources. Air pollution control can also be tackled by reducing particulate matter. This can be achieved by installing electrostatic precipitators, fabric filters, scrubbers, and inertial separators in smokestacks. Switching fuels and using oil or gas instead of coal can also lower smoke emissions. Additionally, noise reduction can be accomplished by equipping machinery with silencers. NTPC, a major power corporation in India, is committed to environmental management. It focuses on optimizing equipment, minimizing waste, reducing pollution, and monitoring ecological reviews to manage data for power stations. In conclusion, manufacturing industries are crucial for producing goods, creating jobs, and driving economic growth. While they bring many benefits, they also pose challenges like pollution that we must address for a sustainable future. Understanding these industries helps us appreciate the intricate processes that provide us with the products we use daily. We hope that you have understood the topic. You can now study chapter notes, Watch video lectures and solve MCQ tests of this chapter on EduRev to ensure you score well in your school exams. And that's not all. You also get amazing courses for maths, science, English, Hindi, and much more for class 10. Thank you.